I regret to inform you that we have all died. That means it's time to meet the Grim Reaper of Twisted Metal and its second most iconic character, Mr. Grimm. None of his endings from previous games are canon. In the first game, he killed Calypso, can't do that. And in the second game, he became addicted to eating souls, and asked for a global war that ended up wiping out all of humanity, and he devoured the entire human population. This game finds him still addicted to souls, and it's driving him mad. This is apparently a universe where when you die, you either get shepherded to the afterlife or simply removed from existence, depending on the whims of the Reaper. Clearly, Mr. Grimm is not responsible enough for this job. He wants to retire and hand the scythe over to some other hapless soul. So we'll be taking him to the thematically appropriate Transylvania. Sorry, I have to say it like that. Now, if you played this game on the PSP, which, as far as I can tell, nobody did. No one watching this seems to have played either version of this game. But if you did not play this level. It was created from scratch, specifically for this PS2 port. The single biggest change between versions, and it kinda makes this LP more difficult, because it's not treated as any sort of bonus level. It's a required part of the campaign, and makes playing through with each character that much longer. The upshot is, I get to show off this really cool level. Managed to thread the needle with Mr. Grimm's special there, but we got a good look at it. It's a gigantic ball of skulls. Does 25 points of damage, which is pretty good, well above average. The problem with it is there's a delay. When you hit the fire button, it starts the animation, and the actual ball of skulls fires about a second later. The game's so fast-paced that it's hard enough to hit with homing shots that don't have a delay, and the Screaming Soul, as it's called, has no homing to speak of. Lets you really know how valuable they consider 25 points of damage to be. And now we've fought our way into the castle, which is definitely where you want to be. This is the main set piece of the level. It's probably the most lavishly designed thing in all of Head-On. That crusher at the front entrance is the only instant death trap in the entire game. There's a variety of alternate entrances and exits around the perimeter, as well as 2 levels of narrow corridors that you can explore, quite unlike anything else in the game. This elevator takes us to one of those sets of hallways, and falling off the edge brings us to the other one. You do gotta be careful with that elevator, because if you are even partially off of it when it starts to ascend, it'll crush you to death. But it's easily avoided. Each level of the castle has even more exits that you can leap from into the surrounding forest. And this crumbling tower before us, we saw, has the minigame teleporter at the top. So they spared no expense on this level. It has its own minigame, its own deathmatch version for completing that minigame. Everything you would expect from a full level of the main game. And quite a bit more. In fact, we are now headed to another large area of this level that we have not yet explored. After we get the final special weapon upgrade. But across this bumpy bridge, we can find a second castle. Unfortunately, not an inverted version of the first castle. In fact, we can't go into this castle at all. It's just a large open area to which you can flee if the main area gets too dangerous. Which was the case, and I tried to get a little breathing room over here. Hammerhead's having none of that though, and he stole my health refill. But luckily there's this teleporter to provide a contingency plan. Just had to give this level's second theme a little time to shine, because it certainly deserves it. Both of the tracks for this level are the final boss themes in the PSP version, and it's surprising that they were retrofitted here because they fit perfectly. adds a lot to what is already a great experience. Oh, and there's Mr. Grimm's upgraded special. Turns the skulls red! They do exactly the same amount of damage, 25 points. The upgrade is that continuing to hammer the fire button while the Screaming Soul is airborne fires a bunch of homing missiles that do 3 damage apiece. You can only fire the bonus missiles until the main shot hits anything. They're mostly just an awkward distraction that rarely scores you any appreciable damage. Turning the skulls red is the better upgrade, honestly. I came all the way out to this second castle to get the health refill, because they are exceedingly important here. There's only the 3, and there is no full health refill in this entire level. I love the way Grimm holds those napalm shots in this game. Even though they're way too bright and a major distraction, it's worth it. And it was the first time I noticed those gargoyle faces above the arches. Those are pretty neat. And back to the very top of the castle. It's a great way to get close to another one of the precious health refills, right in the center of the castle. Makes that central area a great place to just duke it out early in the level when there's a bunch of enemies, and just grab the health refill every time it pops back up. But of course, as Mr. Grimm, we would not survive that long in direct combat. Here's how to get to the top of the castle without taking the teleporter. Not much reason to do so, but it's nice to have the option. So now I've messed around long enough that the castle is under siege by the other opponents. Spectre coming in through the deadly hallway. On many of my runs, that Crusher has claimed a victim or two, just throughout the normal course of gameplay. The AI seems to love the thrill of charging through the Crusher at the very last second, and sometimes they just don't make it. This might even be why they decided to make the pitfalls that appear in other levels non-lethal. With a cap of 5 enemies, losing one randomly to the environment would make things 20% easier through no action of your own. This level actually has pitfalls as well. They're just very easy to avoid. But if we were to leap over any of these walls around the outside of the course, there's no invisible walls. We'll just lose a bit of health and be teleported back in bounds. I'm actually gonna show that off soon. But first, take another pass at the castle. This second level, at the top of the ramps, has a few more pickups than the third level does. So there actually is reason to come up here. And if an enemy follows you up there, combat gets really intense really fast, because there is no room to navigate. So, fortunately, Crimson Fury is just running laps around the outside of the castle trying to get at me. And I'm gonna try and snipe them with some cheesy shots. But my car is too fast, and I slipped over the edge, into the moat. Try to get him at least once with the red skull. There it is. That's a significant portion of their health. And they know to run away. They wouldn't last much longer the way things are going. So I'll let them escape for now, and find the boundary for the level. Obviously, you wouldn't find that accidentally. Although falling off of the bridge accidentally is quite possible. Matter of fact, I did not mean to fall off the bridge there, as intentional as it seemed. Just the way it bumps tends to make vehicles, especially fast ones, just fly off the edge. And notably, out-of-bounds damage is about 10 points higher per fall on the PS2 version over the PSP version. It's barely a slap on the wrist in the other version. It'll end you pretty quick here. But despite that, victory is inevitable. Let's celebrate with a horrible noise. Once you kill your final opponent, it becomes impossible for your character to die. So when the Crusher closed on us after we achieved victory, it tried to kill us on every single frame. Obviously it couldn't do that, but it had the side effect of playing the death scream each time. I didn't go into this recording planning to show that off, but I saw the opportunity and my curiosity got the better of me. It There's nothing to show off from the PSP version of this level because it doesn't exist, but it is worth noting that Mr. Grimm has a different look when his special is selected. On PSP, he has a big red aura around him that looks terrible. I think the PS2 version is actually an improvement this time. Also, the delay when you fire it is much shorter on the PSP version. I think they made it fire slower just so that you couldn't spam it. Don't know if that was some kind of problem that made Mr. Grimm unbalanced, but they solved it anyway. Now, let's check out another Mr. Grimm ending that won't be canon to future games.
Congratulations, Mr. Grimm. You're the winner.
Need my fix.
Feel better, Mr. Grimm?
No, Calypso, I can't take this anymore. It started out so simple, so pure. I'd collect one here, devour one there. I could start and stop whenever I wanted. Now the hunger owns me. It's beyond my control. Please help me.
There are many ways I can aid you, but I need to know exactly what you wish of me. Claim your prize, Mr. Grimm.
I don't want to be the Reaper of Souls anymore. For my prize, I want you to turn someone else into the Dark Collector so I may live a human life.
You're mortal now, Mr. Grimm. The torch has been passed.
I'm free. Thank you, Calypso. I'm free. I'm free. Yes. I'm free. The hunger is...
Well, I still can't begin to unravel how death works in this universe. But Mr. Grimm, who is apparently just a random 26-year-old who has the coincidental surname of Grimm and no first name, he's finally getting to see death firsthand. Not exactly what he wanted, but I'm sure it's what a lot of us watching expected. I'd kinda like to follow the continuing adventures of the little girl Grim Reaper, but it was not meant to be. See you next time as we begin the end game of Head On, which is going to take up a huge portion of this LP.